So, what happens when you take something as new and powerful as artificial intelligence and smash it into one of our oldest, most fundamental systems, the law? That's exactly what we're diving into. It's this incredible collision that could, either finally tear down the old walls of justice or maybe build entirely new ones that are even harder to see over.
If you've ever had to go to a courthouse for any reason, this quote probably hits pretty close to home. It's that feeling you get the second you walk in, that you're an outsider. You see lawyers in suits just sailing past the security line you're stuck in. You hear language you don't understand. It feels like there's this secret rule book that everyone else has but you. The whole system just feels like it's designed to make you feel small. And look, that feeling, it's not just in your head. For millions and millions of people, the justice system doesn't feel like a solution at all. It feels like a wall, a huge, insurmountable wall. And that creates this massive gap between what we're promised justice will be and what it's actually like to try and get it.
Okay, so this wall, what is it actually made of? Let's take a closer look at what's really blocking people's access to justice.
So officially, this is what access to justice means. And it's not just about having laws on the books. It's about whether a regular person, you or me, can actually use those laws to fix a real problem. Whether it's a dispute with your landlord or something much more serious.
So what builds this wall? Well, it's really three big things. First, the system is just unbelievably complex. It's like trying to navigate a foreign country without a map or a translator. Second, the cost. It can be just astronomical, pricing most people right out of the system. And finally, you're often totally on your own in some cases. There's no one there to help you fight for yourself in a game where you don't even know the rules.
But what if? What if you could just bypass that wall completely? This is where technology comes into the story, and it's promising a solution that honestly seems almost too good to be true. Artificial intelligence.
The AI we have today, these large language models, are so powerful they can draft contracts, they can answer complex legal questions, and they can give you advice that honestly you probably couldn't tell apart from what you'd get from a real-life lawyer. The big promise here is that this could radically open up access to legal knowledge for everyone.
Okay, just look at this. This comes straight from a recent study. On the left, that's advice from a human lawyer about a simple fence dispute. And on the right, that's the advice from an LLM. It's pretty much identical, right? The AI isn't just spitting out legal words, it's giving real, coherent advice.
But here is the craziest part of that whole study. It turns out people weren't just okay with the AI's advice. They were often more willing to actually act on it than on the advice they got from a human lawyer. It seems like the fact that the AI is so accessible and, well, not intimidating is a really, really big deal.
So the AI gives us access, it slashes the costs, and people seem to trust it. So that's it, right? Problem solved? Well, not so fast, because it turns out that solving for efficiency might be creating a much, much deeper problem, a human problem.
And that brings us to the real twist here, the idea of losing the human voice. Because when we boil justice down to just a bunch of text on a screen, what are we really giving up in the process?
Now, to really get this, we have to talk about something called mental privacy. And no, this isn't just about keeping your thoughts secret. It's way bigger than that. It's about our fundamental right to control our own story, to be the one who decides how to present our feelings and experiences so we aren't misunderstood.
This quote really gets to the heart of it. Our ability to define ourselves, that's everything. It's core to our dignity as human beings. The moment we're forced to tell our story through some cold, rigid system, we risk being completely misunderstood. And in a way, we lose a piece of ourselves. And just think about it for a second. When you type out an apology or an explanation, it's just flat. It's just words on a screen. All the really important stuff is gone. The hesitation in someone's voice that shows they're truly sorry, the confidence that shows they're telling the truth, the tone that reveals what they really mean. Text is just too blunt an instrument for something as complex as human truth.
So what this tells us is that the justice gap isn't some simple logistical problem that we can just solve with more information. At its absolute core, it is a human problem. It's about our fundamental need not just to get an answer from a computer, but to be truly, deeply heard and understood by another person.
Okay, so if the problem is human, then maybe the solution has to be human too. And that brings us to a totally different way of thinking about all this. Justice as a way of restoring trust.
So on the left, you've got the system we all know, retributive justice. Its main question is what law was broken, and its whole focus is on punishment. But look at the right, that's restorative justice, and it asks a completely different question. Who was harmed and what do they need? Its goal isn't to punish someone, it's to actually repair the harm that was done and restore the trust that was broken.
Now, this isn't about letting people off easy. Not at all. It's actually a really demanding process. It requires the person who did the harm to take real, honest responsibility, to actively work to earn forgiveness, to fulfill their moral duty. The whole point is to rebuild that broken trust so they can truly rejoin the community.
And this quote just nails a really crucial point. Just because someone serves their time and gets their legal rights back, that doesn't mean trust has been restored in their community, not even close. True justice, from this point of view, requires that difficult, human-to-human work of actually rebuilding what was broken.
So, here we are, standing at a crossroads, looking at the future, and we've got two very, very different ideas for what justice could be.
And really, the choice we have to make boils down to this fundamental tension. Do we go for the cold, hard logic of efficiency, or do we choose the messy, complicated, but absolutely essential quality of empathy?
On one path, we have technology. It offers incredible access, incredible speed. It could finally tear down those walls of cost and complexity. But the huge risk is that we reduce justice to just an automated, sterile transaction, and we lose the human voice completely. Then there's the other path, the human path of restorative justice. It's all about dignity and trust. But let's be honest, it takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a ton of emotional work.
And so that leaves us with one last, really crucial question. As technology barrels forward and completely reshapes our legal system, we have to decide what's non-negotiable. What are the human elements, our voice, our dignity, our deep need to be understood, that are so fundamental to the very idea of justice that we will refuse to give them up, no matter how efficient the alternative might seem?